Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine. Not that I wish to imply you have been sleeping on the job. No one is more deserving of a rest, and all the effort in the world would have gone to waste until... well, let's just say your hour has come again. The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. So wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wake up and smell the ashes.
Hello there, it's good to have you here. I'm the Last Mixter, and let me pose a question to you. In the world of gaming, what do you think of when you hear the word masterpiece? Maybe it's your own personal favorite game, perhaps it goes beyond that and describes a unique and special game that was just simply so amazing to play that no other word could truly do it justice. Whatever the case may be, it's not a word that I use lightly, and is something that I save only for the best of the best. And before playing Half-Life 2, there were only 3 pieces of media that I would call masterpieces, that being the original Star Wars trilogy, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and The Last of Us. Of course, there are numerous games that I haven't played, so I imagine the list will grow as time goes on. After recently playing the original Half-Life for the first time and reviewing it, it only made sense to check out the sequel shortly after. And to clarify, yeah, this was my first time playing Half-Life 2. I had heard nothing but great things going into it, of course, so needless to say, I was expecting the game to deliver on everything I wanted from it. So, does Half-Life 2 manage to earn that prestigious distinction, or is it just an amazing game that's held back short of the title? Well, let's dive into one of the most popular games of all time and find out whether Half-Life 2 is truly deserving of being called a masterpiece. Half-Life 2 was both developed and published by Valve and was released on November 16, 2004 for Windows PCs through a little-known online game service that you probably never heard of called Steam, who had made its own debut roughly a year earlier in September of 2003. It was later ported to other platforms and then released in the Orange Box, a game bundle including Half-Life 2, its 2 episodes, Portal, and Team Fortress 2. Now, however many pieces make up the puzzle that is a video game masterpiece, for me, the story is the most important part of the whole thing because it's at the center of the player's experience. Now, covering up a bad story with awesome gameplay can sometimes work. With a story-driven game like Half-Life 2, though, where so much focus must be on the narrative, even the most oblivious people notice when it's bad. This video will, of course, contain spoilers for the story of Half-Life 2, so if you're one of the 5 people who hasn't played it, well, maybe you should. No, seriously, play this game. The only thing I regret about my time with Half-Life 2 is not checking it out sooner.
Do it! Just do it!
The sequel to The Life of a Half Variety begins with a familiar and unsettling face, as the G-Man makes his presence known once again, this time to tell our returning protagonist Gordan Freeman to wake the hell up and get to work, kinda like an alarm clock in the shape of a creepy old man. It turns out Gordan has been in stasis for almost 20 years, and is now only being woken up by the G-Man for reasons unknown. Much like the first game, eagle-eyed players will be able to spot him over the course of Gordan's journey, and he remains as mysterious as ever. A returning character isn't the only familiar part of this though, as once again, Gordan finds himself on another train ride, and I gotta imagine that Gordan has to have a phobia of trains by the end of Half-Life 2, considering the first one he took led him to a facility right before it gets invaded by a crapload of murderous aliens, and this next one, well, it takes him to City 17, a slightly dystopian urban center under martial law. The gist of it is that after the portal to the alien dimension Zen was opened because of the incident at Black Mesa facility in the first game, the various portal storms were created, sending Zen's hostile lifeforms all over Earth, weakening it, and leading to an invasion by an alien empire called the Combine. After only 7 hours, Earth was overwhelmed by the Combine's numbers, advanced technology, and the use of portals to be everywhere all at once across Earth. And the government surrendered, leading to a full-time occupation by the Combine, although if this happened to Earth now, with the state of our modern governments, I would expect it to be called the 7-Minute War. All of this information is hinted at more than it's straight up given out, and that's a common theme throughout the game that we'll talk more about later. later. As Gordan gets off the train, he is met by a cold city, the police force of the Combine, and various messages from Dr. Wallace Breen, the former administrator of Black Mesa, now put into an administrative position by the Combine, where he acts as a political puppet over City 17. Gordan makes his way through some Combine checkpoints, and this is where the environmental storytelling from the first game comes back around in spectacular fashion, and it's one of the best game intros I've ever played through, not exaggerating, not even a little bit. You get the immediate sense that things in the city are in a pretty bad state. The citizens all wear the same clothing, and most of them are silent. The Vortigaunt warriors from the first game are reduced to street sweepers with Combine overseers, and in the train hub you'll encounter a man muttering to himself, and if you listen to his musings, you'll hear some rather interesting things.
They're always departing, but they never arrive. And the ones that do arrive, they never leave.
My guess is as good as yours, really, but I think that trains departing but never arriving, and when they do arrive, they never leave, is most likely a representation of the Combine's brutal police force kidnapping citizens and having free run of the city. In the intro, you're also presented with the revolutionary gameplay of Half-Life 2, because it seems Valve can't make a Half-Life game without revolutionizing the gaming industry and slapping the bejesus out of the industry norms in the process, and that is the physics system. The ability to pick up and move things around freely and have them act as actual objects was just unheard of, and after Half-Life 2, it became the norm in the gaming world, of course. Gordan is taken to a pretty sketchy looking room, to say the least, and things really seem like they're about to go south until one of the Combine soldiers is revealed to be Barney Calhoun, an undercover resistance member and former security guard at Black Mesa, as well as the protagonist of the Half-Life expansion Blue Shift. He introduces you to Dr. Isaac Kleiner, a former scientist who also worked at Black Mesa, and tells Gordan to hoof it to his lab. A grand view of City 17 is revealed, and while having nothing to do with the main story, something I have to mention is the playground that Gordan finds on his way to the lab. If you walk closer to it, you'll hear the sounds of children echoing around you, and it is absolutely bone-chilling. While maybe it doesn't make sense why there would be the sounds of kids here, seeing as the Combine set up a reproduction suppression field, I'm not joking about that one, and thus no one could have any children ever, I have a theory that it could be Gordan imagining what it used to be like, with kids out playing, but you also hear screams, so maybe he's even hearing a version in his head of what might have happened when the Combine invaded, and that's a whole different realm of screwed up that we don't need to go into, and it really doesn't help that there is a doll on the ground missing an arm in both its eyes. Yeah, isn't that lovely? This is what I mean when I talk about environmental storytelling. This right here. Like, it's so well done, and Half-Life 2 does it even better than the first game. Anyway, after this strange encounter, Gordan is chased by the Combine and gets caught in the middle of a civil protection raid on a tenement building, leading to a timely rescue by a new character named Alex Vance, who would later get her own VR spin-off game with Half-Life Alyx, the most recently released Half-Life game. Man, this is such a great way to start the game, it really is, as it sets the tone, gives just enough info about the setting, presents some mysteries to the player, introduces most of the main characters, and gives the player a chance to explore and dabble with the physics system a little, all in the span of about 15 to 20 minutes.
Impressive.
And while maybe not as heart-wrenching and gut-punchingly emotional as the intro for The Last of Us, it's still one of the best intros I've ever played through in a video game, and certainly a very memorable one. Half-Life 2's intro gets the game off to a roaring start, but surely it can't manage to keep that pace up for the entire game, right? Looking back on my time with the game, I can't remember a time where I wasn't engaged and interested in the game's storytelling, wondering what was going to happen next, and for the roughly 17 hours it took me to finish the game, well, that's
Impressive. Most impressive.
Not only is it impressive, but it's something that a select few games have been able to do for me, and I respect the hell out of that. Half-Life 2 also follows in the footsteps of its predecessor, taking out the cutscenes, and replacing them with scripted sequences where every story beat and character interaction is woven into the fabric of the gameplay, making sure you're as immersed as possible, just like the first game. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, something a lot of game sequels seem to forget. Gordan's journey continues as Alex takes you to Kleiner's lab, and Half-Life 2 actually takes a moment to address the whole silent protagonist thing.
Man, if few words, aren't you?
Oh yes, thank you, sweet salvation, finally! None of the other games I have played that have a silent protagonist have actually taken the freaking time to at least mention it, and I always find it a bit off-putting when they don't, so thanks Half-Life 2, from the bottom of my stone-cold heart. Thank you. Alex is also voiced by Merle Dandridge, the voice actress for Marlene in The Last of Us, so kind of a neat connection there. After you go through the secret vending machine door, I want one of these now, you'll meet Dr. Isaac Kleiner in person, along with his pet headcrab named Lamar, because why not? And oh yeah, baby, time to suit up and head out.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And I'm all out of gum.
Thanks to the good doctor, your trusty old H.E.V suit has been upgraded, but still fits perfectly due to Gordon's time in stasis where he didn't age.
Your H.E.V suit still fits you like a glove.
Dr. Kleiner has gotten a teleporter to work, although apparently not without some, hiccups.
You mean it's working? For real this time? Because I still have nightmares about that cat.
No, there's nothing to be nervous about.
What cat?
We've made major strides since then. Major strides.
What cat?
Yo, Schrodinger, where you at? The goal is to teleport both Alex and Gordon to Eli's lab, another scientist from Black Mesa and the father of Alex. However, it's the Half-Life universe, and fancy machines don't exactly have a great track record, so after Alex is successfully teleported, when Gordon hops in, the thing malfunctions and plops him down into a City 17 alleyway. Barney finds him and bestows upon him the greatest gift that mankind has ever known, a good old crowbar, the very same one that Gordon had in Black Mesa, which may not make a lot of sense, but whatever, it's cool. What a reunion, enough to make a grown Gordon cry. The music kicks in and man, it's like I never left. As Gordon starts to make his way to Eli's lab, the game really opens up, and that sense of freedom lasts the rest of the way. Now, I'm not gonna go into detail about every single chapter or we'll be here forever, but rather showcase the major plot points and what the highlights of the game's story are to me. With the game slapping you in the face with a bunch of story in the beginning, it eases off a little bit and gives a lot more gameplay and room to explore the levels. After making his way through the canals, Gordon arrives at Eli's lab and meets Dr. Judith Mossman, an associate of Eli's, and the man himself. Half-Life 2 flexes its environmental storytelling muscles a little more, as you'll get a little lore about the 7-hour war between Earth and the Combine, from both this bulletin board and Eli, where he mentions Dr. Breen being the Combine's puppet. Alex is at the lab too, and after she had a slight disagreement with Judith, she takes you on a stroll through part of the facility to check out the gravity gun. On the way there, you pass by a totally not creepy passage leading to a town called Ravenholm, with Alex giving you an eerie little warning.
That's the old passage to Ravenholm. We don't go there anymore.
And if you're wondering how long it is before you end up there, well, we'll get to that. In the next room, you'll meet Alex's robotic buddy named Dog, a very clever name, by the way, and use the aforementioned gravity gun, a tool able to manipulate the laws of physics and push/pick things up, to play fetch, which is just as awesome and adorable as it sounds, although giving it to me was probably a bad idea, considering within the first minute of using it, I had already yeeted a propane tank and hit myself in the face with a barrel. It's all laughter, smiles, and physics until the Combine show up, and a collapsing tunnel separates you and Alex, and she orders Dog to take Gordon to, well, remember that creepy old tunnel? Hi-ho, it's off to Ravenholm we go. Ignoring all the warning and danger signs, Gordon makes his way up to the surface and Ravenholm, an abandoned mining town full of bloodthirsty zombies, which is just delightful. As one might expect from such a place, the horror gets dialed up a whole hell of a lot, and it's done exceptionally well too. Horror was a key component of the first game, and it's done even better here, and we'll go a little more in depth when I talk about the level design. As Gordon fights his way through Ravenholm, he is assisted by Father Gregory, a slightly unstable priest who appears to be the only survivor of Ravenholm.
Okay.
He gives Gordon some biblical advice and a shotgun, so hey, I'm not complaining, and leads him through the city's cemetery and tells him to escape into the mines. Gordon does so, and makes his way through them, eventually leading him to a resistance bunker. Here he is informed that Alex's father, Eli, has been captured, and she sends Gordon to Nova Prospect, a Combine prison, to stage a good old-fashioned prison break. First, however, he must take a buggy and navigate the coast, and this ain't California, bitch! No, this coast is full of ferocious alien creatures called antlions, as well well as heaping amounts of Combine soldiers. Luckily, your buggy has a big-ass gun, and nothing's gonna stop Gordon Freeman, so it's time to smell the sea air and rip the Combine a new one. He arrives at an outpost where Colonel Cubbage, who originally I thought was named Colonel Cabbage, gives him a rocket launcher to fend off a Combine gunship. After blowing it to Kingdom Come, Gordon makes his way through the sand traps, an area of coast that acts kinda like quicksand, but instead of sinking when you step in it, it summons about 40 quadrillion antlions, so watch your step. He discovers another resistance encampment where Vortigaunt gives him some bug bait, allowing Gordon to control the antlions and unleash them on the Combine. He uses the bugs, who quickly became my best buddies, to infiltrate Nova Prospect. After you fight your way through the complex, Gordon rendezvous with Alex and the two search for Eli, eventually finding him, as Alex slices the system and sends him to the Combine's teleportation room so he can be sent back to the relative safety of Kleiner's lab. She patches herself into Gordon's suit and helps him navigate through Nova Prospect, leading to her attempting to find Judith Mossman, which then results in both Gordon and Alex viewing a conversation between Breen and Mossman, and it turns out she's not really about the whole loyalty thing, and had agreed to turn Gordon in. Things then get a little confrontational when the two find Mossman, and she attempts to explain that she had to convince Breen that Eli was important enough to keep alive, but Alex doesn't want to hear it, pretty understandably, I think. Alex politely escorts Judith to the Combine's teleportation room so her and Gordon can escape the facility. Surprise, surprise, things don't exactly go to plan, though, when Judith hops in the teleporter with Eli to bring him to Dr. Breen. You defend Alex as she recharges the machine, and the both of you escape to Kleiner's lab, but the process is unintentionally slowed down, so what was a split second for Alex and Gordon was a week in City 17. During that week, the citizens of the city had finally had enough of the Combine's bullcrap and staged a full-fledged rebellion. With Barney leading it, and even Dog making his way back to the lab, the whole gang is back together. As Alex escorts Dr. Kleiner to safety, you and Dog head out onto the mean streets to knock some sense into those Combine fools, and I like Dog's approach. When in doubt, throw a car at them. Unfortunately, your metal companion doesn't hang around for long and attacks a gunship, hitching a ride to who knows where, so it's back to wandering the urban landscape all on your lonesome. However, unlike most of the game before this point, you aren't alone for long, as you'll meet with several groups of citizens fighting with the Resistance.
Well, Gordon Freeman. And about time, too.
Who are you?
And they'll join your squad as you fight your way to rendezvous with Barney. Along the way, Alex is captured by the Combine and taken to the Citadel where Eli is being held. After meeting up with Barney and fighting your way through the heavy Combine forces, Dog makes his return to help you get closer to the Citadel, as Barney and Dog stay behind while Gordon sets out to rescue his friends. While traversing the spooky Citadel, you'll see some interesting things that hint at the greater story and lore, such as how the Combine's army is seemingly created with tortured humans. No other word best describes this place than unsettling. Everything about it just seems off, as if the whole place is rotten to the core, a core that Gordon is now in, and there is no turning back. You end up hitching a ride on one of these pods and get plopped into a security field where all of your weapons are taken from you, save one. The gravity gun gets jacked up like a gym bro on his 30th round of steroids, and becomes capable of throwing around large objects and yeeting your foes into oblivion, turning Gordon into the embodiment of a one-man army, if he wasn't already. When Gordon reaches the top of the Citadel, the gravity gun is taken away from him and he is held captive along with the others, but Dr. Mossman, deciding she wants to go back on the whole two-faced thing, frees the group as Dr. Breen makes a break for it. You and Alex chase him down and find him talking to what is most likely some alien overlord, and then he attempts to use the Combine overworld portal, which to my knowledge is a portal to the Combine's original homeworld. However, Giga Chad Gordon has other ideas for Dr. Breen and destroys the reactor, causing the whole system to go critical and presumably killing Dr. Breen, although it's never confirmed. Just as it seems like Gordon and Alex might go with him, who else but the G-Man steps in to say, "Good job, buddy, hope you like stasis, cause I'm sure I'll need you in the future, toodaloo."
Rather than offer you the illusion of free choice, I will take the liberty of choosing for you, if and when your time comes round again.
It's a very similar ending to the first game, and it leaves more questions than answers, just like that game did.
I trust it will all make sense to you in the course of... Well, I'm really not at liberty to say.
Now, I know Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2 continue the story, so I'll be checking those out soon enough, but taking a look at just Half-Life 2, the storytelling here is really unique because at the end of the day, Half-Life 2 shows a lot in terms of its setting and environments, but doesn't really explain much, and this could either be a good or a bad thing depending on the gamer you talk to. A good chunk of the information I gave in this review so far was actually pulled from the Half-Life 2 fandom wiki, because it was information that I either missed or that the game didn't present, so as the player you're pretty much left to your own theories and speculation, which is interesting, because I feel when a mystery is afoot, such as the G-Man's identity, talking about it has the potential to bring the community closer together, or tear them apart. It's the internet, so it really could go either way. Half-Life 2's method of storytelling expands upon the first game by bringing in a more focused story with new characters that have unique models, and that interact with Gordan on a more personal level, while keeping what made the first game's story great, with things like scripted sequences that flow together even better than the first game, and of course that good old environmental storytelling that I'm so fond of. Speaking of just that, the areas in and around City 17 are never boring. There is always something to look at no matter where you are. And usually something to shoot as well. Graffiti of Combine soldiers holding babies are sprayed on the walls, giving a colorful indication of the Combine's brutal control over humans by limiting their way of carrying on the species. And in the Citadel, the inner workings of the Combine's army are shown, as you see the unfortunate souls being carried off to the next round of testing and torture. Going back to the abandoned Raven home, the Combine don't have a presence here, so it's eerily quiet with nothing but the occasional Raven squawk. At least until you run into a group of zombies and all hell breaks loose. Tensions between the Combine and the citizens slowly builds over the course of the game, nothing but pure hatred and spite built after countless kidnappings, beatings, and murders, some of which you catch glimpses of at the beginning of the game, until it all boils over and total war erupts across the city, where those who can't fight are left to hold up in what's left of their homes, simply trying to survive until tomorrow. Half-Life 2 delivers a masterfully crafted narrative, and the world building is the best I have ever seen in a game, bar none. When a first-person perspective, silent protagonist, and amazing surroundings come together, it's no wonder the game is able to hook you and keep you reeled in till the credits roll, and I apologize if I made you feel like a fish with that analogy. You don't feel like you're being led through the story, you're just in the story, living and fighting in a broken world. Half-Life 2 showed us all what it means to be successful without big, expensive cutscenes, and while we still have more to talk about, the story, at least, in my eyes, is very much worthy of being called a masterpiece. Now, let me throw a word at you. Fun. Yeah, the thing we all want to have in life, and one of the biggest reasons why most of us play games, probably. It's a fantastic thing to have a story as good as Half-Life 2's is, but the gameplay has to back it up, and oh man, it rides into town with a vengeance.
That's the way it's done.
While I enjoyed the gameplay in the first Half-Life, it got a little frustrating at times, but 99% of that aggravation is completely gone with the sequel. Ladders are still kind of awkward to use for some reason, and the pathfinding for the AI can get in the way, literally, as I got stuck in a corner with no way out. Anybody feeling a little claustrophobic here? No? Okay, can you just move to the side a bit? Okay, no, oh my god, let me out! So, I ended up having to reload the last save, which made me lose progress and activated my gamer rage. But that's where the criticisms end for me. The rest of the gameplay is so superbly fun that my problems became nitpicks, and those nitpicks became tiny little baby ants to the point where I barely noticed them. It follows the first game's formula of breaking the gameplay into combat/platforming/puzzles, only the combat is more tense and exciting, the platforming is way less clunky, and the puzzles are even more well put together. We'll start off with the combat, because who doesn't love to shoot some fangs? You start off with the beloved crowbar, so you can play Whack-A-Combine, and much like the first game and every other first-person shooter in existence, your arsenal expands as the game progresses. While you get fewer overall weapons, I think the gravity gun and physics system is kinda meant to replace what is missing, and it's such an awesome way of fighting enemies and navigating your environment. You can push, pull, and hold objects in midair, and use them for so many purposes that the possibilities here just might be endless. The ability to grab any small to medium-sized object that's semi-close to you provides unparalleled variety in each combat encounter, and you can throw all sorts of things, including some explosive barrels, great for DIY fireworks, and saw blades, perfect for all of your slicing and dicing needs. The other Gordan would be proud.
Finally. Some good fucking food.
A pistol, magnum, SMG with grenades, spaz, shotgun, and frag grenades are all on the menu, as well as the pulse rifle. a combine weapon with a secondary fire that is basically a bouncy ball that vaporizes people, the crossbow, which is insanely accurate and deadly, not to mention fun to use, it's just a really awesome weapon, I love this thing, and a laser-guided RPG. It's all good fun, and the weapons feel perfect. The shooting and controls are smoother than Mr. Clean's head, and the minimalistic HUD doesn't get in the way, but tells you everything you need to know.
A really bad feeling about this.
Vehicles were added with the airboat and buggy, and listen man, I don't know what the hell these things are made of, but I'm pretty sure it's the bones of Zeus or something, because you can bash them into just about anything, including copious amounts of explosives, and they just won't break, almost as if it's a Fast and Furious movie. The vehicles are fast and super fun to drive around, and what I love is the game gives you lots of time with them, so, you know, you get a good feel for how they operate, and not that it's complicated or anything, but still. Of course, there are plenty of enemies that try their best to ruin your day, so start blasting.
Anyway, I started blasting.
Your main foes will be the Combine, and of course the unfortunate humans who got a bad case of zombification when the Combine invaded Earth. Their ranks are made up of regular soldiers and elites. The police force carries batons, while the soldiers carry SMGs, and the Big Daddy elites get pulse rifles. The Combine will also deploy machines such as city scanners, manhacks, and helicopters, as well as synths, which are part biological, part mechanical entities, which include the formidable gunships that lay down withering fire from above, and Striders, long-legged behemoths with pulse cannons on their head, and they very much remind me of the Silt Striders from Morrowind. Meanwhile, the zombies' ranks have grown since the first game, with new types such as the Poison Zombie that chucks poisoned headcrabs like Oprah giving away cars, I believe I can fly, and the Fast Zombie, which despite the unoriginal name, are pretty terrifying foes that make their main appearance in Ravenholm, climbing and jumping across the buildings, which I'm sure would make for a wonderful children's story. And good night kids, don't let the headcrabs bite.
What the hell is even that?
Speaking of which, those annoying little shits are back too, and they haven't changed one bit, always lurking around corners ready to jump at your face. I'm getting real sick of this crap, you know.
Stop it.
Half-Life 2 also does not have a boss battle. Well, not really. There is one, I suppose, with a helicopter, but all you fight in the big finale is 2 gunships, and I thought for a second that it would be an anticlimax, but come on, this is Half-Life we're talking about, they know what they're doing. Well, the Combine soldiers are all dealt with in mostly the same manner, as in... The gunships and Strider require a more tactical approach, as moving between cover is vital to survival. The new zombies are threatening too, especially the fast ones, as they hop around to try and overwhelm you with their agility, making for superbly engaging encounters while you rely heavily on your spatial awareness and reflexes. And even the normies have a trick up their sleeve, as no longer are they limited to slowly lumbering towards you, no, now they throw things, including explosive barrels. The platforming and puzzles are similar in style to the first game, which is fine, not much needed to be changed there, although the platforming feels way better, maybe because those awkward Zen chapters are gone, and overall the movement is smoother and you have better control. Half-Life 2 walks that fine line of changing enough things around so that it feels like a brand new game, while also not demolishing the foundation that the first game built, and that is precisely what a sequel should do. When it comes to the setting, environments, and overall tone, Half-Life 2 hits a home run on every possible thing that it can, which is really no surprise. For 2004, the game looks superb. The facial animations in particular blew me away. They are just way too good for the time it came out in, and the animations are super solid too. It helps greatly when the characters around you move and speak in convincing ways, and I got nothing bad to say about the game visually. I also have nothing bad to say about the levels and environments. In fact, it's probably my favorite part of the whole game, and the physics system plays a big role in it all. When objects act like they do in real life and move around so realistically, well, one shouldn't be surprised at how immersive the world feels. The intro and Gordan's first foray into the mysterious City 17 carries a distinct tone to it, where the whole city seems to close in on you and the lack of music serves to heighten every sound, providing a cold, oppressive vibe. When you catch a glimpse of the Vortigaunt slaves, the wheels in your head start turning just a bit, and you wonder how they ended up there. The first major glimpse of City 17 is a mix of beautiful and haunting, as the Citadel looms large over oppressed citizens. On your way through the canal, you'll see all sorts of piers, docks, loading zones, and places of industry, with the city setting the backdrop to Gordan's fast-paced excursion through the waterways. Then, of course, you get to Ravenholm, and if there was any doubt that Half-Life 2 would be able to match its predecessor in terms of world building, well, that quickly goes out the window. As soon as you load into the chapter, the music and eerie ambience immediately set the tone, so you have an idea of what you're in for. The story goes that the town was a refuge for citizens escaping the Combine's rule over City 17, and it remained undiscovered for some time, but eventually it was found, and the Combine deployed headcrab shells that overran the city and turned the inhabitants into zombies. You'll find a room full of the bloody remains of unfortunate souls who couldn't escape the massacre, and the buildings cast long shadows over the dimly lit alleyways. As the name might suggest, throughout the chapter you'll hear the distant call of ravens, adding another layer of creepy ambience that I really didn't need, not to mention the groans of zombies and smoke from the fires lit by Father Gregory that fill the night air. The combat is made claustrophobic and even more tense than usual due to the small rooms and tight corridors. Before escaping to the cemetery, which by the way is a terrible escape plan in a city infested by zombies, Gordan and Father Gregory will make a final stand on the rooftops, and it's a spooky sequence as the fast zombies will jump and climb over the buildings in a steady march towards you, and it's not like you can go anywhere, so you're stuck waiting for the inevitable. And one extra little detail here that's exceptionally clever is that you can't really see over the edge of the building you're on, so you can't see the pipes they climb on, and as such, you don't see them until they are right there in your face. Ravenholm has a lot of small little details like that, making it an interesting place for players that like to explore, and those who like to shit their pants as well. The spooks are very well done, and for the most part it's done with an absence of jump scares, so bravo on that one. In a sharp contrast, the next couple chapters take place along the coast, where you take a buggy along Highway 17 past abandoned houses near the sea, and these levels carry an intense loneliness to them, as you're traveling this road through a relatively barren landscape, with nothing but the howling wind to keep you company. And I always viewed it as symbolic of how Earth was taken prisoner by the Combine, and lives were destroyed, families were torn apart, and things were left unsaid. Half-Life 2 then switches gears to show you a darker side again with Nova Prospect, the Combine prison, a facility where everything is meant for the sole purpose of oppression and brutality. Those themes carry over for the rest of the game too, both for the bombastic chapters that take place in the war zone that City 17 has become, and the home stretch of Gordon's journey, the Citadel. In City 17 there will be little moments where you can see the wariness that is set in over the citizens, and in the Citadel, the heart of the Combine's operation is shown in exquisite detail, with gunship assembly lines and enslaved humans being ferried off to different places like cargo. I don't think I've seen a game do immersion as well as Half-Life 2, and at this point, it's just one more thing to love about this fantastic game. To finish off this video, I wanted to touch on the undeniable impact that Half-Life 2 has left on gaming. There is no question that it's an amazing game, and I have given my reasons as to why I think so, but for a game to truly become a masterpiece, it must have a significant legacy, and usually one tends to remember it long after it was released. With Half-Life 2, you could make an argument that it has been the most impactful game of all time, and to be honest, I just might agree with that. The physics system was revolutionary when the game came out. There was simply nothing else like it on the market, and when something like that pops up, everybody flocks to it like the sheep we are, and that's fine. I would gladly be one sheep in a massive herd if I got to play Half-Life 3 the day it released. But not only that, the facial animations were of a quality no one had expected, the storytelling was nothing other than extraordinary, and the AI was so solid that there was always a natural challenge to overcome that was not manifested through glitches and bugs. Of course, the physics system was used again in Valve's 2009 title, Left 4 Dead 2, but that's not even the most impressive part. When you look at the mods that have come from the franchise, well, you only get two of the most popular games of all time. The first being none other than Counter-Strike, which started as a mod for the original Half-Life, and Gary's mod, originally a mod for Half-Life 2. Normally, an awesome game is just that, awesome in its own right. Maybe it spawns a sequel and or a franchise, maybe not, but so rarely does a game manage to revolutionize the industry and then proceed to pop out another game that redefines things all over again. Yet that's exactly what the legacy of Half-Life is. Obviously, there's the elephant in the room, or rather the ghost of an elephant in the room, that being the non-existent Half-Life 3.
Can you tell us anything about when we'll see episode 3?
I'm not saying anything about episode 3.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Which is a whole different beast entirely, and I hear people say Half-Life is dead and gone, stuff like that, yet I think they fail to realize that just because a franchise hasn't had a recent release doesn't necessarily mean it's dug its grave. Sure, Half-Life Alyx has been the only thing in recent times, but Half-Life is far from dead. People are still talking about and playing it, and one of the biggest reasons is Half-Life 2, the sequel that got everything right. There really isn't a thing I would call wrong with it, some very minor minor issues here and there, but a masterpiece doesn't mean perfection, and it's an absolute must-play and one of the best experiences in all of gaming. As such, I can think of no other title to bestow upon it, and that is why Half-Life 2 is indeed a masterpiece. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then consider giving it a like and subscribing. The support is always appreciated. Much love, take care, and until next time.